Okay, for this video, I'm continuing off of the application gateway video. So I created this one, and that has two backend pools, the virtual machines, and I'm going to show how it could do multiple sites. So multiple sites is, if you have one domain that's, Microsoft.com, and then you have a second one that's Apple.com, you could direct the traffic to your different backend pools depending on the domain. So if it's Microsoft.com, um, you know, so if users want to go to Microsoft.com, they're directed through the application. They're directed to the application gateway, and it sends them to, let's say, the first virtual machine. And if they want to go to Apple.com to browse it, then they go through the application gateway, and it sends them to a different virtual machine. So that's multiple sites. So in order to do that, we're going to need two backend pools, two listeners, and two rules. So we have two backend pools here. We're going to change that. We have that. We don't even have a health probe. We have one listener, so we're going to change all that. So the way it's going to work is, we have two VMs, so two pools, two listeners. One is going to be, for one website, and one is going to be for the other website, and then two rules, which is just going to combine those, where it's going to check the listener and then send it to the right backend based on the listener. And so it's going to be, one will have one website and send it to the VM, another one will be the other website and send it to the other VM. So those are two rules. So I don't actually have any domains because you gotta pay for them and stuff. So I'll just show the steps, but not actually do it. So remember, I was continuing off with the other video. So let me just show you. So I have this file on the images folder. Okay. Being slow. I didn't mean to open it. This file for image is called images, so save. And then the second VM that I created has the same for both videos. That's all you have to do, make sure you have ISS on them, and I'll just show it. It's already set up, the load balancer, but let's just actually go to the VMs so I could show that they work. So it has IIS and cp/images/default there. And if we go back, has IIS and images slash. So okay, so you see it's working. And if you change up the videos for the second VM there. So just imagine images and videos were just different websites instead of different files. So anyway, we have our two backend pools, which it's the first virtual machine, it's one for images, and the second one is the videos. Actually, let me edit this because I don't want it to be called videos. Never mind. It's not worth it. Not worth deleting it and doing it again. So we have our two pools. We have our front end IP. We have our listener, public, the IP I created for it on port 80, so it's listening on, and let's change it to multi-site. So this is where the listener part is where you configure for doing multi-site. So basic, you don't need it because it's only going to listen for that one service. But since we're having multiple domains, then this is where you do it. So you do multi-site, and then you put in, www.microsoft.com. Let's say that's your host name, and then the second one will be apple.com. But imagine this was just like images is what I would say to make it easier. So you just create that, and then we'll also do a second one. Settings is fine. I just want to show you. You just create this and it should work for both. Where was I? Rules. So use that listener, and it's the images pool with the image VM. And you can we're not going to do these, so just imagine I didn't create multiple targets to create. Actually, I'll just delete it since we don't need it. So that's one rule. So the same path-based rule, let's specify at least one rule, or redirect configuration. So here's where you put the URL, images. Well, basically when you first create it, here, let me delete the rule. Okay, fine. I'll make a new rule. So we'll call it images rule. We'll make a new listener. Alright, I was trying to work off of the other video, but it doesn't really work that well. I should just create a whole new application gateway to show. The pools are fine, and so what I need to do is just get rid of this listener. Fine. Call it the new listen. Give it the public IP, 80 is fine, all that's fine. Change it to multi-site, put images. And it's not going to work because that's not a real host name. So imagine that worked, and we created, and it became this. So this works, because we already, okay. That's why it didn't work, because we already had this one. Images like that. So that's listener 1. And then now we need to add the rules. So you choose. I don't know why it's not letting me find the listener. Alright, looks like I have to create a new application gateway. Let me just delete this one. I'll show you real quick then. I guess I should have just done it this way in the beginning. So forget that one. New app gate. I'll put it East US. So you could do it with web application firewall, but I'm fine with standard v2. We don't need auto scaling. And I only need one instance of it. I don't need availability zone. I don't need that. And we'll use the virtual network I already had, and like I said in the other video, it needs its own empty subnet, so I'll do app get subnet, which is what I created. I just created that subnet in the one that I was using for the virtual machines in the VNet. Anyways, so I can't use the old public IP because it thinks it's still there because it's not deleted yet. So let's just create a new one just to show you. Make sure it's public. Call it new app public. Okay. Now you want to configure the backend pools. Call the first one images. New images pool. And the virtual machine. Choose first one because that's images. And then we'll create a second pool. Call it new videos pool. Virtual machine. Target is the second VM. Add. So now we got our two pools. And now we're going to need two rules because we got our public IP and two of them. So the first rule is going to be, so imagine it's Microsoft.com or whatever, but I'll just do, we call whatever images rule domain images domain rule listener name, and we'll call it just new listener. Front-end IP, you click the one that you made, the public one. We're going to listen on port 80, and we want multi-site, and then this is where you put in your domain of www. Whatever it is, Microsoft.com. We'll just do images. That just the placeholder. And now you do the backend targets. So we want the backend pool, and we want the images pool, and new. And you can create a new one if you want, like that. And HTTP settings. So let's create a new one. We'll call it new setting, and everything else is good. So you do add, and then we're able to add that. And now we're going to need a second rule, and pretty much the same thing, but videos domain and rule listener name. You could, so you could just say videos listener, and same front end IP port 80, everything's good. Multi-site, and this time the listener is going to be watching out for requests to your apple.com instead of microsoft.com, but we'll just do videos as a placeholder as a domain host name. Then you go back in targets, change to the videos pool, and you can use the same setting that you created earlier. And now we should be all set to go. Okay, delete the other one. Tags, review, create. I don't know what it didn't like. Basics. Oh, okay. Let me create a whole new subnet then. So I guess you could just watch this video completely separate from the application gateway video, since I'm basically showing all the steps again. So you just go to this VNet of the virtual machine and the backend pool you're using, and go to subnets, and just imagine that one wasn't there. We'll create a whole new one, call it new app subnet, and make sure you have enough address space. Create it, and after it's done, then we'll change, say create new, and then discard. Click that one again, and now it should pop up new app subnet. Continue all the way to review and create. I don't know why they didn't add this feature. You could just click, the ones that have You can only click once behind. And it's validating it passed. Alright, so once created, I'll come back. Alright, so it's created. And actually I want to do something. I want to go to its public IP address and configuration. Let's give it the DNS name label. We call it, it's an A record that starts a specified label and resolves the public IP address will be registered with Azure provided DNS servers. So it's just something to add to the front of it, the DNS name. So, you know, like I said, with Microsoft.com, it would be like whatever. Okay, that's weird. It would be new label. New label. Anyway, click save. Anyway, it's done. So there it is. You got your overview, and you hit refresh, and here it is. Imagine the DNS name was well, so basically what you would do is you go to your DNS provider, and you know, like I said, if it was Microsoft.com or whatever, you just go to wherever you're hosting it, and you know, in the records of it, you add a Cname record if you don't already have one. If you do have one, then just edit it and change it to be this new DNS name. And basically, it'll just say whenever you're trying to go to www.microsoft.com, it's actually pointing to here. And that's what the Cname record is doing. And then, you know, you do it for the other one of apple.com. You go to its DNS, wherever. And if you have an A record, you can delete it. But you just, you know, change the Cname to point to here so that whenever they try to go to apple.com or whatever, it'll use the web gateway, because this is being used by the application gateway. So anyway, so you do it for both of them. That's what I'm saying, for both domains. So Microsoft.com, or in this case, you know, images, and then apple.com, and videos, and you use the same DNS name for whatever your DNS server, DNS place is, like, you know, GoDaddy or whatever. And then just to prove that it works is you would go to, you know, Microsoft.com, and then it would actually go to, you know, the first VM. It'll go to this, let's say images server. Well, it'll actually go to the IIS, so it'll just show that default one. But then you change it to Microsoft.com/images/default.html, and then it'll say this. And also do the same thing if you did the same thing, but you did apple.com, it would show IIS. Then you do apple.com/videos/default.html, and it would show the second one, which is the same thing, just to say videos. And that's how you know your application gateway is working, and you have multi-domain sites. So that's how to do it. And sorry, it's a long video because I had to go back and restart it, but and I didn't actually show it because I don't have those domains or any domains. But that's how you would do it. So yeah, and to see it, you could go here and put it in.